The highway stretched like a long black ribbon under the night sky. Only our car's headlights cut through the darkness. The glass on the window was cold, and my breath made small white clouds as I sat quietly in the back seat. I held my bag tight against my chest, as if it could protect me. Next to me, my sister Chelsea sprawled out. She stretched her legs across the seat and tapped her painted nails on the leather, making sure everyone could hear her sighs. "Dad," she whined, pushing the back of his seat with her heel, "my knees are cramped. Why do I have to suffer while she hogs all the space?" I blinked and stared down at my lap. I wasn't even taking up much room. I had folded myself into the corner like I always did, trying not to be a problem. My father's voice cut through the car like a knife. "Move your legs, Allison. Don't make your sister uncomfortable." I shifted even further, pressing myself against the cold door. "I already did," I whispered. But Chelsea groaned louder. "She's still in my space. She doesn't belong here anyway. Throw her out. Let her walk for once." My stomach twisted. I thought she was joking. But then I heard my mother laugh from the passenger seat, her voice sharp as glass. "Honestly, that's not a bad idea. It would teach her what real discomfort is. Better than whining like she always does." Chelsea smirked, leaning closer to me. "Yeah, toss her out. She'll figure out how to crawl in the dark." The car slowed. My heart jumped into my throat. "Wait," I started, panic breaking through my voice. Dad flicked on the turn signal and steered toward the shoulder. Gravel crunched under the tires. The red glow of the tail lights painted the inside of the car like fire. "Out," he barked. I clutched my bag tighter. "Dad, please. It's the middle of the night. It's freezing. I'll move more. She can have all the space. Just don't leave me here." Chelsea laughed so hard she wiped tears from her eyes. "All this for leg room. Pathetic." The door yanked open. Cold air slapped my face. My dad's hand clamped down on my arm hard enough to bruise, and he pulled me out like I was nothing more than luggage. I stumbled onto the gravel, scraping my palms as I caught myself. "Dad." I cried, my voice cracking. "Please don't do this." He shoved me back. The smell of gasoline and rubber filled my nose. "If you want to stay in this family, you'd better learn you don't come before your sister." The door slammed. The engine roared. And just like that, the car sped off, its red tail lights shrinking into the endless black. I stood on the side of the highway, my breath shaking, the night swallowing me whole. Crickets and the whoosh of passing trucks were the only sounds. My legs wobbled beneath me, the gravel biting through my thin shoes. For a moment, I thought about running after them, but the road stretched too far, too empty. Instead, I sank to my knees, the weight of their laughter still echoing in my ears. They hadn't just left me behind. They had declared me disposable. Hours crawled by. The cold seeped through my jacket, numbing my fingers. Every headlight that appeared in the distance made me flinch, wondering if they had come back. But no, each car blew past, leaving me in its tailwind. I pulled my bag close and whispered to myself, "Just hold on. Just hold on." It wasn't just the night I had to survive. It was the truth that had been spelled out so clearly, so cruelly. I was nothing to them. My sister's comfort meant more than my safety, my life. And as the hours stretched on, as the dark gnawed at me, a spark inside me hardened. If they wanted me gone so badly, fine. But one day they would regret it. One day they would choke on the choice they made on that highway. That night wasn't just the night I was thrown out of a car. It was the night they pushed me into becoming someone they'd beg forgiveness from. The sun hadn't risen yet when I finally dragged myself off the gravel shoulder. My knees were stiff, my throat dry. My shoes were coated in dust, my palms still burning from the scrapes. My body wanted to collapse again, but something in me wouldn't let it. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of imagining me curled on the roadside like abandoned trash. By dawn, I found my way into the nearest small town. The gas station attendant raised his brows when I walked in, hair tangled, eyes red, clothes rumpled. "Rough night," he muttered, sliding me a bottle of water when I mumbled that I had no money. I clutched it like gold. Every sip burned and healed at the same time. Every kindness I got from strangers that morning cut deeper because it showed me what I had never gotten from the people meant to love me. I took a bus with the last crumpled bills in my bag, riding until the city skyline rose in the distance. The whole way, I replayed the scene, my father's hand shoving me, my mother's laugh slicing the air, Chelsea's voice dripping poison. "Out. She doesn't belong here." The words wouldn't leave me. I crashed at a shelter for 2 nights. The beds were hard, but the roof was steady, and no one told me I was worthless. A volunteer, a woman with silver hair and kind eyes, noticed how tightly I hugged my bag. "Honey, you're safe here," she said softly. Safe? That word felt foreign, but safety wasn't enough. I needed strength. So I scraped my way into work, 2 diner shifts, back to back, 7 days a week. I kept my head down, stacked my paychecks, and never once called my parents. Not even when winter came and I slept under 3 blankets in a shoebox apartment with broken heating. Not even when I saw families gathered in the booths at the diner and my chest ached like it was splitting open. I refused to be the girl who begged again. Chelsea, meanwhile, was plastered all over social media, pageants, vacations, dresses worth more than my yearly rent. My parents flaunted her like a trophy. Our pride, our future, they wrote under her photos. Not once did they mention me, but the silence worked in my favor. To them, I was erased, forgotten. And if they believed that, then I could move in shadows. One night, after a double shift, I sat in my freezing apartment scrolling through their posts. A picture stopped me cold, Chelsea blowing out candles on a massive cake, her smile sharp, my parents grinning on either side of her. The caption read, "Family is everything." I laughed out loud. The sound was bitter, jagged. Family. My stomach tightened. I remembered the highway again, the cold gravel, the shrinking tail lights. They thought that moment was the end of me, but they had no idea it was only the beginning. I started paying attention. My parents weren't as untouchable as they acted. Their mortgage was heavy. Their perfect image was built on borrowed credit and favors. And Chelsea, she wasn't as flawless as they painted her. Backstage at her pageants, rumors floated online. Tantrums, sabotage, cruelty that her fans never saw. I took notes quietly, patiently. Weeks turned into months, months into 2 years. I built myself into someone else, stronger, sharper, patient enough to wait for the perfect moment. Because revenge, real revenge, wasn't about shouting. It was about timing. And then the moment came. A phone call, a different kind of begging voice. My mother's. "Allison," she said, her tone cracking. "Your father's business deal went wrong. We're drowning. Chelsea's sponsors are pulling out. We need your help." I almost dropped the phone. After years of silence, the first thing she said wasn't "How are you?" or "We miss you." It was "We need." My lips curved into a smile. I had waited for this. I let her talk, her voice rising with desperation. She begged for money, for contacts, for anything. "You have a job, don't you? You must have saved something. We're your family, Allison." Family. That word again. I didn't hang up. I didn't shout. I didn't remind her of the night they threw me out like garbage. Instead, I whispered into the phone, "You'll get what you deserve." And when I hung up, I knew it was time. The same way they had driven away from me without a thought, I was going to drive them into a corner they couldn't crawl out of. Their panic, their desperation, it was the first time in my life I'd heard them sound small. But I wasn't going to rush. They had left me in the dirt once. I was going to bury them under the same weight of helplessness they once made me carry. I began by showing up where I knew Chelsea and my parents would be, the regional pageant. I hadn't stepped foot in one since the night they threw me out of the car. But now I walked in with my head high, wearing a crisp black suit I'd bought with my own savings. No frills, no sequins, no fake smiles, just power and simplicity. The whispers started almost instantly. People recognized me. Isn't that her sister? Didn't their family cut her off? The noise built like static in the air. Chelsea was backstage when she saw me. Her face froze before twisting into a smirk. Well, look who crawled out of the gutter. My parents flanked her, their eyes darting nervously. My father's voice was sharp. What are you doing here, Allison? Don't cause a scene. I stepped closer, calm, deliberate. Relax. I'm not here to ruin her pageant. She's good enough at that herself. Chelsea's jaw tightened. She didn't like cracks in her perfect image, especially not in front of her sponsors. The moment the lights dimmed and her performance began, I slipped into the crowd. My revenge wasn't about interrupting. It was about precision. Weeks earlier, I had quietly reached out to several of her sponsors. I didn't scream or beg for them to pull out. I gave them proof, receipts, voice recordings, even videos from backstage of Chelsea mocking other contestants, trashing gifts from fans, and bragging about how her parents bought her wins. None of it was fake. I hadn't fabricated a thing. I'd simply collected the truth they all ignored. That night, as she posed on stage, one by one her sponsors' representatives stood and left the audience. Murmurs spread. By the time the crown was about to be placed on her head, the announcer's voice cracked. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we cannot proceed with the award presentation. Gasps. Confusion. Chelsea's painted smile faltered under the hot lights. My parents rushed to her side, whispering furiously, but the cameras had already caught everything, the silence, the sponsor walkouts, her trembling facade. I stood in the back, watching it unfold like theater. My revenge wasn't in yelling. It was in silence, in letting her crumble under the very stage she thought made her untouchable. The fallout was swift. Contracts cancelled. Debt notices arrived at my parents' door. Their house, once a monument to success, was now drowning under unpaid loans. That's when they called again. Allison, my father's voice broke this time. We, your mother and I, made mistakes, but you're our daughter. Help us, please. For years, I had imagined this moment, voices trembling, begging me for scraps. I could have hung up. I could have screamed every word I had swallowed. But instead, I went to see them. I walked into the same house where they once laughed while I stood outside, abandoned. It smelled different now, less of wealth, more of fear. My parents sat at the kitchen table, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow. Chelsea was curled in the corner, mascara streaked, clutching a trophy that suddenly looked worthless. Why are you here? My mother whispered. I pulled out a chair, sat across from them, and leaned in. Because I wanted to see the look on your faces when I said no. They froze. You threw me out on the side of the road for legroom, I said, voice steady but sharp. You fed every bit of dignity I had to Chelsea's pageants. You told me I was useless. And now when you finally hit the ground, you think I'll lift you up? Tears welled in my father's eyes. We were wrong, Allison. Please. No, I cut him off. You weren't wrong. You were cruel. And cruelty has a price. I stood, leaving them trembling at the table, and walked out without another word. The best revenge wasn't screaming or humiliating them in public. It was walking away whole, stronger, and untouchable, while they sat in the ruins of the empire they had built on my pain. As I closed the door behind me, I heard Chelsea sobbing, my mother pleading, my father's voice cracking. But I didn't turn back. That night, I slept better than I had in years. Because the truth was clear. I didn't need them to validate my worth. Watching them beg while I walked away was the justice I had been waiting for. Please like and subscribe for more videos. Also comment where you're watching from.